I can't remember a time in my life when I did not love books. From I was a little girl, my parents would get me books, and I would also, I mean, many other friends would gift me books, and that continues today. Um, from children's books like Corduroy, which is a classic that I enjoyed and that I also have gotten for my son so he can enjoy, to enjoying Babysitter's Club with my friend Diana. And then I would go to the St. Hans Bay Parish Library, and I would get the Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys. And yes, many people used to give me those as gifts too. Um, Reading has always been a part of leisure for me. Reading has always been a part of what I consider fun. Reading takes you places as you visit and experience cultures that you've never visited. So you visit places rather and experience cultures that you've never had to experience before. You meet people and characters, and some of them start to feel like friends because you get so wrapped up in the story, and you want to know these people in real life, and you feel like you're sitting with them and enjoying tea or coffee or a drink, just really, really fun. Right now in our home that I share with my husband Gordon, and I mentioned earlier that we have a son, Alexander, we hope that we are passing on the love of reading to him. We have gotten a number of books for him, and that's very exciting. And Gordon and I enjoy reading with him. Reading is fundamental. It takes you places. Reading books provides you with a window to the world. And I would dare say that one of the best ways to have some good fun is to cozy up with a book. Like I'm cozying up with Girlcott today, and I'm going to share with you a reading, a part of chapter 2. Let's jump in. Mrs. Wallace waited for a few minutes, rubbed her mouth with a napkin, and then folded it into squares before placing it beside the empty dish. When she spoke, she pronounced each word slowly. Desma, it is time I got to the point. I would like to have you come to work for me, looking after Fiona. Of course, it would mean sleeping in, but you'll be paid well. The words rolled together in one breath. I did manage to hear it would mean sleeping in. Well, Desma, Mrs. Wallace said when I didn't respond. I looked up, my voice, my eyes avoiding her face. I don't understand, Mrs. Wallace. I'm offering you a job looking after Fiona, Desma. A chance to make good money now that you'll be leaving high school. My first reaction was to say right out no, but I could tell by the way she folded her arms across her hefty bosom, she was ready to argue her point, whatever it was. I already have plans for after I leave Collegiate Institute, I said politely. You have a job already? Let me know what they're paying you, and I'll pay you more. It's not about a job. I'm going to be tutored for some exams I intend to take. They're hard exams, and studying for them will take up a lot of my time. I was getting all tongue-tied and not making sense. I don't understand. Why are you doing more studying if you've finished high school? I want to go to college. I want to take up actuarial science and become an actuary. My voice dropped lower and lower until I was barely whispering. Words seemed to be sticking to my throat, making me suffocate. I coughed nervously. Mrs. Wallace leaned so far back in her chair, and I thought for a fearful moment she was going to topple over. But she caught her balance and wobbled to her feet. Her voice rose. Are you telling me, Desma, that you are turning down my offer for some career? An actuary? What in the world is that? It's actuary, Mrs. Wallace. My heart was slamming against my ribs. I was sure she could hear the racket it was making. I could tell by the way her eyes popped wide that I did not make sense. She took a deep breath, and when she spoke, her tone was sharp enough to cut the words into small pieces. I can bet you any money it's closed to colors. Ignoring her remark, I said quickly, I plan to study hard for the exams, and I believe if I pass them, I can become an actuary. I'm not sure if it was my tone of voice or my insistence that made Mrs. Wallace's eyes change from wide to narrow. I looked away when I noticed that Elmira had returned and was leaning against the archway, her arms folded and her face split into a wide grin. Mrs. Wallace continued as if we were the only two in the room. I think you need to give my offer more thought, Desma. You'll have your own room. I've even planned to let you have Elmira's old television. I'm getting a bigger one, Elmira interrupted. When we go to Virginia to our summer home, you'll go with us. Have you ever been to America? Without looking up, I told her I hadn't, and I tried not to let the indifference creep into my voice. I told you, Mother, she wouldn't take the job. Elmira entered the room and leaned on the table. Didn't I tell you she acts like she's not colored? Didn't I? Even Janet told you that. Let me handle this. Mrs. Wallace was almost nose to nose with her daughter. This is none of your business. But Elmira flopped down in a chair near to me. Let's face it, Mother. She's made a low-quat joke out of you. You went to all this trouble to wait on her like she's white company, and she's turned you down flat. Reaching under the table, I picked up my purse. Thanks for everything, Mrs. Wallace, I said, trying to be polite as I rose, my body trembling. Don't you dare walk out of this room. With the agility of a clumsy elephant, Mrs. Wallace stamped in front of me and held up a plump hand. Who do you think you are, walking out of my house like a grand dame? I'm an actuary, ma'am. Elmira almost split in half as she doubled over with laughter. What's going on here? All three of us froze in position. Mr. Wallace stood in the archway behind Elmira. Oh, darling, I'm so glad you're here. His wife's face seemed to crumble as she sat down heavily on a chair. Her husband, dressed in navy blue Bermuda shorts with long matching socks and his blazer thrown over his arm, blocked out the opening to the archway. Elmira quickly unfroze, looked over at her father, squeezed past him, and vanished. He looked at me, then at his wife, and back to me. Although he was frowning, he did not seem angry. Bridget, what's this all about? John, you wouldn't believe Desma refused the offer to look after Fiona. She must have a reason. He smiled at me. I've always liked Mr. Wallace, and I looked at him now, happy that there was no anger in his voice. Her reason is that she wants to take some exams. She claims she's going to be an actuary or something like that. Even telling me what it's about doesn't make sense. I knew if I corrected Mrs. Wallace, I would appear rude, so I said nothing. It can't be actuary. He turned to me. Is that what my wife is trying to say? Yes, Mr. Wallace. I'll be busy studying for the exams, so I can't. You'll never be an actuary, Desma. His calm voice had hardened. My wife is right about that. You're colored, and you're a girl. I don't know of any colored men in the field, let alone colored women. I want to be an actuary. I like babysitting Fiona, but I'm not cut out to be a servant. This came from Mrs. Wallace. She now sounded like Elmira. That's not what I said. What I mean is, that's enough, Desma. I could tell Mr. Wallace was dismissing me. An actuary? Who Who in the world put such an idea in your head? Do you realize that colored people in Bermuda are better off than colored people anywhere else in the world? You people have your own homes, most of you. You own cars, you eat plenty. The lists of your good fortune, thanks to people like me, are endless. Yet, you prefer to pay attention to foreign rabble-rousers and throw away everything with a boycott, a riot, or whatever else you think would work. It won't. Let me tell you, the lot of you won't ever intimidate us. The anger that I had tried so hard to control burst out. My father works hard for everything he has, and a lot of colored people like him work hard too. He started his garage from scratch, and look where he is today. And he wants me to work hard at whatever I want to become. That's enough, Mr. Wallace said. I'm sorry you don't understand. That's enough. This time, he yelled. I'm not here to argue with you about your folly in turning down a job you're capable of doing. I always thought you had better sense. I was wrong. Now, you may leave. I walked past them and out of the house feeling as though I had been kicked 100 times. An actuary, imagine that, I heard Mr. Wallace say as I closed the back door behind me. But it was Mrs. Wallace's high-pitched laugh that made me angry. The sound seeped through the keyhole as I walked through the gate. When I passed the match-me-if-you-can hedge with none of its leaves matching, I could feel my head spinning with fury.